friend Tim Wheatley to noise11.com for the first time in quite some time. So it's good to get the catch up here, Tim.
Good to see you, Mr. Cashmere. Like you said, it has been a while. I've missed you.
And like you're on the other side of the planet, you're in London, you're in lockdown. I'm going out to Midnight Oil and Icehouse concerts, and you're watching, I guess, Vicar of Dibley over and over and over again on the TV.
Just Piers Morgan. We just watch Piers Morgan 24/7 here now at the moment. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, it's been a long 12 months. It's been a long 12. Oh, it's 12 months exactly of lockdown here. We actually went into lockdown on the night of my birthday on the 17th of March last year. So I'm celebrating my second birthday in lockdown here next week.
Well, I guess with lockdown in the UK, for you, every night is a night without Shakespeare. Which I like that link there. I'm getting into your new record here.
Yeah, I see what you did there. You're a master craftsman. Yeah, well, I mean, basically, when we were on the 23rd of March last year, I was getting ready to reel out a new album. I decided to take most of 2019 off to do that record and move and establish myself here in the UK with my fiance, and then 2020 was supposed to be in January. Was supposed to be launch and tour and work my butt off around Australia there, but obviously those plans got foiled pretty quickly there with COVID, etc. And we decided to just completely change what I was due to release. So I selected a group of songs, sort of about a night out in London, tried to get it as cohesive as possible, and that's when A Night Without Shakespeare was born, because we could only assume that there was absolutely no Shakespeare for the first time in a couple of hundred years around here in the UK.
Well, let's talk about some of the songs on this new EP. And might I say, Mr. Wheatley, there's been a lot of innuendo in your lyrics over recent albums and right through the entire career. So it does not surprise me that this record kicks off with a song called Sex with Strangers.
Yeah. Well, look, it's different. It sounds like I'm sort of being somewhat a little bit deviant in that sense, but it was actually a more sort of old school nostalgic sense in me, whereby Sex with Strangers, I was listening to a few friends of mine talk about, single life in London and their Tinder apps, and meeting up with people and finding people and being able to find, people that you like, etc. And I just thought, wow, it's completely different. I've been with my fiance for 12 years now. So, I mean, I never got those apps or explored that world. And I was just sort of thinking about, like, when I was a kid on holidays and you'd sort of, the family next door, there was a beautiful girl there that you'd think about and go crazy about and get angst. And then you'd have to wait till next year's holiday to maybe bump into that person again and pray that all the stars aligned. And I just think that finding love and things like that in the modern age is completely different now. Yeah, so that was what I was getting at, going down that line with Sex with Strangers.
Glenn, Gaynor, I told you, you had nothing to worry about, nothing to worry. I told you, it's okay, guys, it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, at least that's what I'm telling my mother. Exactly right.
All right, we've satisfied your parents now.
Yeah.
Who is Madeline?
Madeline was just a fictional character. I always thought of it's sort of loosely based around my fiance, I guess. But we spent a summer in Paris and stayed at the Hotel Amour. So and the Hotel Amour is actually it's an old brothel, and it's been redone into like this super chic, hipster, trendy hotel. So I mean, the train of thought and the context of that, it was very phallic. It was a unique experience, but we were there for some time, so a lot of lyrics sort of came out of there and a lot of stories.
Interesting thing about this entire 12 months with these new songs is, over the years when you've had new music, you've had the chance to get out and perform that new music. This music is purely just recorded music at this point, isn't it?
It is, exactly. I mean, one thing I really can't wait to do is bring these songs to life with the band. And also that the whole album was written sort of, I mean, whilst I always do write the songs by myself, they were developed by myself for the first time before taking them into the band. Normally I'd sort of, the old sort of country way, I'd just take the songs, me and acoustic guitar, walk in with the band and see what everyone else would have. Obviously, I haven't had that luxury for some time, not just because of COVID, but for the 12 months before that, when I moved here to London, I hadn't found many musical friends in that sense. So the record was developed a lot more before I took it, which is a first for me, and probably I think you can hear that a lot in the depth of it, hopefully, and the layers.
Yeah, living in London, two-part question. Why did you move to London? And B, being in London, with all of that music history around you, what have you been absorbing yourself around?
Well, moving from Los Angeles to London was a huge, huge culture shock for me. We moved here for work for my fiance, and she got a job here, and we'd done 5 years chasing my dream there in LA, and we thought we'd had enough of that, and it was time to move on and try something different. So we did, and London presented itself, and so we had a tough time adjusting. And I was, like I said, I was dragged kicking and screaming. I really didn't want to get there, and we landed in here just for the tail end of the beast from the east, and under snow, and I was pretty used to the Californian lifestyle by that time. So, it's the music culture here was, incredibly different. I find it's a lot. It's hard to explain. It sounds bad when I say a lot more genuine. It's a lot more inbuilt. It's a lot more ingrained here within people, especially in East London. Whereas I found in LA, everyone sort of shifts and changes to little different scenes and things like that, and you're not so wholeheartedly invested in one thing. Whereas nightlife here in general, especially in East London, is breathtakingly difficult to keep up with.
I guess musically, there's family history in London too, because your dad, Glenn Wheatley, who was a part of a band, Masters Apprentices in the 60s and early 70s, recorded at Abbey Road Studios.
That's right. He did while the Beatles were in there, as a matter of fact, the only Australian band to actually do that. Yeah, look, he came and visited me in London. We went through a very nostalgic tour of the place, where he used to work with Lawrence Myers, where he worked around town and basically had to sell everything he had to get home. Fascinating history of him here as well, and a fascinating history of him in Los Angeles. I am sort of in one way or another inadvertently following him.
Next track on the EP is Little Rebels. Tell me about that song.
Little Rebels was, we should just replay that lead up. That was the nightlife song. That was me getting a little bit swept up when we got here. I thought leaving Los Angeles, I'd be spared the debaucherous lifestyle and the hectic social elements to it. But when I got here to East London, it's a way of life. It goes all night long through the days. It's madness. And it's genuine, and that was Little Rebels. It sort of felt weird releasing Little Rebels during this pandemic, because obviously you guys are out and about there, but here in London, the idea of running around town and celebrating sounds absolutely ridiculous at the moment. So it felt irrelevant, but at the same time, I guess you can just turn that into nostalgia.
It's a different sounding record than the previous albums like Pillar to Post and Cast of Yesterday. Is that because of the influence of living in a new country?
I think so. I think I also had a little bit more time to piece it together. I think if I released this as the entire album, there would have been a lot more of those songs that would have brought those elements to it. Whereas this one here, we've intentionally gone for an EP to give each song its chance. Whereas I think on an album, occasionally, especially in this day and age, you put it up online on Spotify, and a lot of songs fall by the wayside. In this time around, because I can't tour, etc., we just really wanted to capitalize on everything. And I think sort of for the first time releasing an EP of like this after the first two albums, I think you are listening to each song a little bit more intently.
Lying Low, let's talk about that one.
Lying Low was written in 2019, and it was basically me just putting my head down and working in London and doing my time, as you would say, before I can get back to 2020 and hit the road again. So I was feeling, when I first moved here, a little down on the situation, very isolated, cold, and it wasn't in the best space. And that was just sort of basically me getting through that particular time there.
And the final track on the EP is May She Rain. So we've got a very tight package, 18 minutes of, 5 new Tim Wheatley songs.
Yeah. Well, May She Rain was first landed here in London. We stayed at a friend's apartment in Soho, and Soho, amongst all the beautiful theatres and the nightlife there's it's the oldest red light district in the UK, and we literally lived above what my imagination was going absolutely wild. And there's a red light district there, which is frowned upon, which is by all means illegal, but it's overlooked. I don't know what it is, part of the laws there. I can't explain it, but it was fascinating because we'd just be sitting there having dinner and you just see this inflow into certain establishments and underground places, and it was prevalent. So May She Rain is sort of like a tribute to those men and women working in the sex industry there. But it's of a fictional, it's only how I could imagine it, essentially.
So obviously, once all this is over, do you have a UK band, or do you have to now go and put another band back together?
Hopefully I'll find a band when this all opens up again, and we may find each other at the Royal Oak over the road here, or stumble across something like that. Otherwise, you just sort of join the search and find some. But I definitely need some sort of musical outlet over here if I'm going to be here for a little while longer, that's for certain. But as far as teeing that up goes, we're still months away from being able to do that.
Well, good to catch up with you again. It's good to finally hear some new music. 2021, it's like the beginning of the year. We've got a new EP. Hopefully that'll expand out to a full-blown Tim Wheatley album by the end of this year, and no doubt by the end of this year, once we've all been jabbed, you'll be able to jump on a plane and come home and visit the family.
Yeah. Exactly right, Mr. Cashmere. I can't wait to get back and see you all, mate.
All right. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for the chat, mate.